Hello YouTube. Welcome back to another demonstration. This is the Barber Pastor. In this demonstration, I'm demonstrating a disconnected Slickback Gentleman's Fade. That's what I call it. Now, you might call it something else, but that's what I'm going to call it in this video. Alright, I'm starting off by gently wetting my client's hair, getting ready for this haircut. And I'm positioning his hair the way it needs to lay properly while I'm cutting it. You can see us having a discussion about this haircut, which he likes. My client has a bit of alopecia in the rear of his scalp, so we're having a discussion about that prior to me cutting it. So I'm getting my tools ready before I jump in. You'll see me do a lot of things differently over time, and I must say that I'm allowing you to experience what it's like to cut hair wherever you may cut hair, or to experience these demonstrations as if you were doing it yourself. So this is definitely prepared in a real life 2D or two-dimensional, I should say, setting. It's just like you are going to be when you go to work and you're standing behind someone's head. There's a lot that you have to put in mind, take into consideration as well. So that's how I'm presenting these videos. Nothing fancy, just straight up, just like it would be if you were to pick up this clipper and start this haircut yourself. I don't feel as if there is a strict set of rules that you have to follow when you get behind the chair. There's a lot to consider, but you know how it is when you get behind a client. You do your consultation and then you get started. And I try to perfect every client or every customer's hair that sits in my chair. And so I'm allowing you to experience what it's like to go to work, wherever you might particularly work. So I've started his hair, cleaning up from the nape, from the zero, which means that the lever on the clipper is all the way closed. And these Babyliss clippers come pretty sharp, so it's almost as if I'm using a trimmer from the zero. And I'm using clipper over comb to move bulk as I'm going up. And you'll see me fade a lot of times without using guards. I feel like guards are not always necessary depending on the type of hair that you're cutting and the haircut. So most times I try not to use them if it's not necessary. So again, I'm going up, fading, blending, using clip over comb, removing weight inside the teeth of the comb. Yeah, everybody develops and matriculates differently, and you will develop your own techniques, your own uh, particular patterns for, perfecting your haircuts. There's no set way, especially when you're dealing with uh, different hair types. Uh, you're dealing with different head shapes. I mean, because there's a lot of variables, so you may not always need to stick with a guard, which is why I don't always use them, and you won't see that a lot uh, in my demonstrations or my tutorials. I'm about to speed this up, and we're going to matriculate through this haircut. And I'm still at 0. One of my client's hair again. And again, you guys, this is a demonstration, so this is going to be a bit different. But I thank you for staying tuned. Now I've parted my client's hair, and I'm cleaning them up on top using my shears. Yes, I do shear work, which is very important, especially when you're doing clients with straight hair. And I'm picking a hair up, lifting it, and cutting off in between my fingers what I need to cut off. And again, this is a disconnected Slickback, uh, and I'm not taking much weight off up top. Pretty much I'm just cleaning up what he already has. And I'm sectioning off. I love shear work. I mean, because it's really when you get to show off your particular skill sets, and it's so vital and so important to know how to do. Uh, I was a bit frustrated in barber school because I was not very good at shear work. A lot of what you do in barber school is just using clippers anyway. Uh, but a lot of the shear work I learned on YouTube, just watching other people and watching demonstrations and looking at how people and other barbers utilize shears. And it was just like anything else. The more you do it, the more you pick them up and you practice, the better you get. So you'll learn, how necessary mannequins are. As you can get on a mannequin and just play around with the hair, and I would start just taking off uh, enough hair so that you can have 2 to 3 good uses out of one mannequin head. Because if you go in there first and you go trying to do a ball fade uh, on a mannequin and you just take off too much or more than you need to, and you can go through a mannequin in just one setting, and you don't want to do that. Taking into consideration how much those things cost. They aren't cheap, so keep that in mind. And I'm still going through the haircut, cleaning off my client. Cleanliness is important. Nobody wants to sit in a chair with a bunch of hair all over them, so you'll always see me, trying to clean up after myself or clean as I go. And I use a little shear over comb, then I'm using some manual use. I'm going back and forth really, as I'm eyeballing what I need to do in order to perfect this look. I sped it up a little bit, but you missed a lot of the fading. And I only used one guard in this haircut, and that was the number one guard, just to clean up in between where you see me clean up right now, and I'm rigging up with my clipper all the way open, and I'm going back over spots that I felt like needed to be cleaned up some more, and just raking up, just using the very tip of the blade. And again, there are going to be certain techniques you're going to pick up over time, as you matriculate through the barber profession. And these are the same skills that cosmetologists can pick up too. And there you saw that number one, which I attached to the clipper just to clean up the fade a little more. The haircut is pretty much done, but I do a lot of, when I have time, going back and cleaning up, making sure that I perfect the look that I'm working on. And like I said earlier, this is a demonstration in 2D, as if you were standing behind this client and doing this haircut yourself. So there's be a lot of things that you can pick up and use yourself as you're watching. And I'm moving my client's hair back and forth a lot from one side to the next, just so I can make sure that he's properly cleaned and properly faded. as I assimilate through, still using that number one guard. And I'm gently raking. Now I learned in school how important 45 degrees is, and you'll see that here as I'm raking up, holding my clipper at a 45-degree angle, because it's essential in fading and blending hair together. And I'm turning them around here, utilizing my mirror, using more clip over comb, taking off inside or weight, taking off hair that I don't need. And keep in mind as well that when you're doing clip over comb, you only want to take off exactly what you need, because if you take off more, there's no way to put it back. So keep that in mind. Now I picked up my trimmer and I'm going around and edging my client's hair. This gentleman always gets compliments on his beard. He's got an old school look. He's also a biker. He's got that look. So he likes a nice, clean haircut. And one thing I like about these Babyliss Pro trimmers that they're very sharp. I mean, they're razor sharp coming out of the box. You may have to do a little bit of zero gapping, but just a little. But once you get them right, they're good to go, and they're definitely my go-to trimmers now. So I really appreciate Babyliss Pro for these, and I feel like they're essential for any barber or any stylist who needs a go-to trimmer. And if you can afford it, invest in more than one set. I always try to have more than one trimmer in case something happens. So if you can afford it, by all means. As you can see, his haircut is pretty much done. But again, I'm going back and cleaning up where I feel like he needs to be cleaned up. As to perfect this look. I'm making sure that I've blended in his beard, or the sideburns rather. Now my format for how I go through the haircut changes from person to person. I began by cleaning them up, wetting them down, and jumping into the haircut, jumping into the fade. But as you go along, you'll develop your own strategies for particular haircuts. So I'm gonna decline, but I want to thank you for tuning in one more time. It's always going to be a pleasure. Thank you so much, YouTube. And stay tuned. If you see something you like us, subscribe. I'd appreciate it. And there's more to come in the future. It can only get better from here. So peace and blessings. I'm out of here.